Congo election officials delay the country's hotly anticipated historic election by 1 week. We'll bring you reaction from inside the country. How a London-based initiative is helping refugees produce their own energy. And Zimbabwe moves 100 elephants to test its anti-poaching system. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Hayley Adams-Fitzpatrick in for Vincent McCory. He's off today. Thank you very much for joining us. We begin tonight with a story we're following from the Democratic Republic of Congo. 6 people are reported dead after a plane crash near Kinshasa airport. And the plane was chartered by the country's election commission and went down after delivering election material to Chikapa in the center of the country. The commission says the plane was carrying election results forms that were all delivered safely before the deadly plane crash. Meanwhile, the country remains on edge tonight after election officials essentially pressed the pause button on that crucial vote initially set for this Sunday. The election has now been moved to December 30th. That's another delay in the country's troubled quest to elect a successor to President Joseph Kabila. VOA's Anita Powell reports.
December 23rd was supposed to be a pivotal moment for the Democratic Republic of Congo. The day voters would engineer the first transfer of power in decades, with the departure of the longtime president. Instead, things got complicated. A fire destroyed thousands of voting machines at a depot in central Kinshasa, just 10 days before the planned election date. Opposition protests turned violent. And now voters will have to wait an extra week before saying goodbye to longtime President Joseph Kabila, after the Electoral Commission informed candidates of a 1-week delay just 3 days ahead of the poll.
He informed us that they will postpone the elections for technical reasons. The CENI says they are technically unable to organize the elections on December 23rd. That's what the CENI told us.
VOA asked a representative of ruling party candidate Emmanuel Ramazani Shadari for comment on the situation, but the representative declined. Shadari has touted his closeness to Kabila during the campaign.
I was chosen as a candidate for the presidential election by President Joseph Kabila, a Ketanjist. Ketanja has given me everything.
Shadari faces competition from a fractured but passionate opposition, including the son of the former longtime opposition leader. In November, the opposition chose businessman Martin Fayulu as their coalition candidate. But that deal soon fell apart and others entered the fray. Fayulu, who spoke to VOA in Kinshasa, accused the ruling party of trying to spoil the election.
We don't want chaos. Kabila wants chaos because he knows what he's doing. He knows his mission in Congo. His mission in Congo is to destabilize Congo. It's obvious. Everybody has seen that.
He is campaigning on a bluntly anti-Kabila platform, as are other opposition candidates.
We want to leave after us, the all bad things that Mr. Kabila has done in this country. The bad thing that the 20 years of Kabilism have done in this country. Corruption, insecurity, the mass killing.
Shadari's camp refutes the allegations and defended Kabila's legacy.
If it's Mr. Shadari, he say, I'll continue with the spirits of progress impelled by Mr. Kabila. He's honest. The order will take advantage of what Mr. Kabila have left. Mr. Kabila. It's a question of honesty. I think every next president will continue what Mr. Kabila has no opportunity to achieve.
But it's not clear whether ordinary Congolese see Kabila in the same light. After the delay was announced Thursday, students protested in Kinshasa. With the election now 1 week further away, so too is the prospect of the peaceful transition Congo has waited for so long. Anita Powell, VOA News, Kinshasa.
Well, a lot of tension there and a lot of questions. Let's see if we can get you some answers. We go now to our reporter, Abdurrahman Dia. He is in Kinshasa for us and joins us on the phone. Good evening, Abdurrahman.
Good evening, Heidi.
Tell us, what is the latest there and what has the reaction been on the political front?
Well, let's just say that the people have consumed the news and they know that they won't be going to the polls on Sunday. So the tension is, let's say, less noticeable in town compared to yesterday, and they are going on their normal business, trying to have a normal day. But it's when you talk to them that you know the anger and the frustration. They let it out. There's a lot of disappointment, and also many of them saying that they are not surprised after all that the CENI, the Electoral Commission, and the government just do not want to go to the election, and they knew it all along, but they just chose to wait up until to the last minute.
I mean, I can completely understand that you don't know whether to be surprised or not surprised and then surprised again. What are opposition politicians saying about all of this?
Well, the opposition is not saying much other than today the UDPS of Tshisekedi has been saying that December 30th is kind of the red line, and after that they will call for protest until Kabila leaves office. Felix Tshisekedi himself has called for on his supporters to remain calm for now, but they are saying they cannot go beyond December 30th. So that is basically what they're saying. They, I guess, also are still looking for options other than that because they probably have been surprised, at least some of them.
You know, there were so many questions and concerns, even as we were working up to a vote that was originally scheduled for Sunday. Abdurrahman, what needs fixing here, and what can be fixed before December 30th?
Well, maybe we need to know what they have, really, because the last few days they themselves, within the Election Commission, they have been contradicting themselves. Up until Wednesday night, two officials from that commission were saying that everything was ready, everything was in all the provinces, and the next day, which is yesterday, the president of that commission, Kone Nanga, came out and said, well, they not hold the election on Sunday. So we really need to know what they have. Do they have all the material that they said they have, or do they only need the 4 million ballots that they say are coming on Saturday? So if we have that, maybe did they take it to all the provinces? That is another question. As you remember, the government has decided not to seek help from the international community and from MONUSCO, which is the biggest UN field mission on the world. So, and there are real challenges on the field because it is a huge country.
And we are going to be checking in with you, Abdurrahman, as this story keeps developing. Thank you very much for that update. That's VOA's Abdurrahman Dia reporting for us from Kinshasa in the DRC. Well, with all the headline-grabbing political news pouring out of that country, we thought now would be a good time to focus on the ordinary people of the Congo. Today, we bring you part 5 in our series, We Are Congolese. It's about people sharing their hopes for their country and what they expect from the upcoming election. This time, we meet Lundu Musanga Sarah.
Être congolais, pour moi, veut dire avoir l'esprit fort et dynamique. Voilà, en bref, je sais ce que je peux dire. Je raconte beaucoup de problèmes au quotidien, entre autres les problèmes de l'eau dans mon quartier, les problèmes de route. Outre ça, les problèmes de transport. Très souvent, lorsque je quitte la maison pour aller à l'université, en tout cas, les transports n'est pas assez facile. On n'a pas assez de moyens et il y a aussi des problèmes de haussement de transport. Les transports haussent à tout moment, donc ça ne nous facilite pas d'aller à l'université facilement. Quand je parle de ça, je prends un exemple. Chaque matin quand je sors, des fois je vois des enfants de 6 ans, 7 ans qui vendent les légumes sur la tête. Et moi, personnellement, ça me fait très mal. Pourquoi je me dis, ces enfants devaient être à l'école normalement. Mais vu le développement de notre pays, vu le social de notre pays, ça ne permet pas à ces enfants d'aller à l'école. Pour manger, ils doivent vendre d'abord. Et cela me choque. En fait, les responsables de ces problèmes, ce sont les leaders. La réussite dépend d'un bon leader. Et quand le leader n'a pas tout le critère qu'il faut pour diriger, c'est compliqué. Voilà pourquoi je donnais un exemple à la question précédente. J'avais dit par rapport aux enfants qui vendaient de légumes. Dis-moi un peu, c'est quel parent qui voudra laisser son fils ou sa fille à cet âge-là de vendre? C'est par manque d'argent. Donc un parent qui n'est pas bien payé, il a 6 enfants, il est payé à 50 000 francs, 100 000 francs, c'est compliqué. Alors tout ça, ce sont des problèmes qu'il faudra que le gouvernement puisse régler ça dans ces pays. Si j'étais présidente dans ces pays, la première décision que j'allais prendre, c'est de faire étudier les enfants de maternelle à 6e primaire gratuitement. Parce que ça allait faciliter aux parents de réfléchir ou d'économiser l'argent pour leur faire étudier mieux aux classes préscolaires. Bon, une année après les élections, je pense que la RDC va changer beaucoup de choses. Donc je pense qu'avec un bon leader, on aura déjà des fonctionnaires qui seront mieux payés. Il y aura des institutions qui seront...
Hearing from ordinary people in the DRC. Well, a new initiative in Kenya is employing refugees and displaced people to produce clean energy and become part of a market economy instead of relying on aid. The Moving Energy Initiative helps displaced communities produce energy in a safe, sustainable manner. VOA co-sponsored a recent town hall at the Kakuma camp in northwestern Kenya, where residents talked about their energy needs. VOA's Zlatica Hoke has the story.
Kakuma camp is divided into several communities, including the Kalobie settlement that integrates refugees with the local population. The camp is home to more than 185,000 registered refugees and asylum seekers. Aid agencies are running out of funds to help an estimated 1 billion displaced people worldwide. When refugees leave the camp in search of supplies such as firewood, they compete with local residents for meager resources. The hostility often leads to violence.
Also, this collection is done mainly by women and girls, and they're exposed also to gender-based violence in certain situations.
Researchers say there can be benefits in investing in the refugee economy. London-based Chatham House has launched a Moving Energy Initiative in Kakuma to produce clean energy for the refugee camp and the neighboring communities.
We think there's an opportunity by changing the way that we perceive refugees and displaced people. You know, these are people who are usually economically active, who want to access energy and who want to access cleaner and more sustainable forms of energy. And then there can be even more opportunities to bring that kind of energy to the local communities as well, who are often suffering similar kinds of energy access problems.
Solar panels are the fastest growing source of renewable energy in Kakuma camp. Jerome Mabusuka is a refugee from the Democratic Republic of Congo. He runs a barber shop at Kakuma using solar energy.
I like my work, but it would not be possible without electricity. And here in Kakuma, there would be no electricity without solar power.
More than 3/4 of the camp residents remain without electric power. They can charge their phones for a fee at shops that offer the service. Installing a solar panel has made a difference in the life of David Mana and his family.
My children can study. We don't have to go far to charge the phone and the radio. We do everything at home now.
The Moving Energy Initiative is working with governments and the private sector in African and Asian countries to invest in building clean, renewable sources of energy in the refugee camps and impoverished communities. The goal is to help residents engage in thriving market economy and reduce their dependence on ever-shrinking humanitarian aid. Zlatica Hoke, VOA News, Washington.
African migrants coming to Europe dream of landing a good job, but the reality is usually much more difficult. Working on the streets, collecting garbage, or picking fruit and vegetables in the fields. The migrants aren't legally allowed to work while they wait for their asylum claims to be processed. That can take months or even years. So they're forced into the black market. As Henry Ridgewell reports, Barcelona is becoming a hub for migrants in Spain, where the number of new arrivals has risen sharply in 2018 to more than 55,000.
back-breaking and badly paid. Collecting scrap metal is a means to survive for migrants in Barcelona. A cartload can weigh hundreds of kilograms, which can be sold to recycling firms for about $35 or $50 if the seller is lucky. Supporters say the migrants are doing a valuable job. Critics argue they are part of a black market, increasingly run by criminal gangs who exploit them. So authorities are stepping in to clean up the business. Alencop is a city-run cooperative that offers some protection for the collectors. They offer Barcelona residents timetabled collections and special appointments, collection by van or bike, and job security and a guaranteed price for the migrants.
Alencop has done many things for me, because I entered Alencop without papel, without anything, but now I have my documents.
Eric Cutter was unprepared for how tough life would be.
What is different is I knew that if I enter here, things will be difficult as I get in here. Because I think Europe is very rich as I hear before, and then but when I enter here, no, things are not as I was thinking.
Other migrants in the city have carved out their own commercial niche, selling mainly counterfeit goods on the streets. They are known as manteros because they sell their goods on blankets or mantas. If the police come, everything is wrapped in the blanket for a quick getaway. Fermin Villar and other local store owners say they are losing business.
En estos momentos,
there are those who have become so accustomed to the profits from selling illegal goods that it does not compensate them to enter the legalized and regulated world.
Villar fears there will be a political backlash.
To be a host country, we have to manage immigration quickly. If not, society will reject it, as we are seeing lately in the regional Andalusia elections. And that is a danger because nobody wins.
The sharp rise in the number of migrants arriving in Spain is increasing pressure on the government to stem the flow of new arrivals and to better integrate the migrants already here. Henry Ridgewell for VOA News, Barcelona, Spain.
Now, as always, we want to hear from you. Tell us what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover here. We're on Facebook. The address there is Africa 54. We're also streaming our show live on Facebook, so check us out and share our show with your friends and your followers. Still ahead here on Africa 54, Zimbabwe tests its anti-poaching system. We'll bring you those details, but first, a quick look at the day's top stories.
Cover lots of other brands as well by women of color. I think people are becoming a lot more intentional about where they spend their money, who they spend their money with, and they want to have a little bit of a story as well.
Moving to southern Africa, Zimbabwe has moved 100 elephants from a congested conservancy in the south to another park near its border with Zambia. The new conservancy offers the elephants more to eat and more room to roam. However, the park has been stalked by poachers in the past. But now Zimbabwean wildlife officials say the poaching is under control. Columbus Mavunga reports for us from Harare.
Zimbabwe Parks and Wildlife Management Authority says the elephant population in this part of the country has grown beyond what the land can sustain. As a result, the elephants are destroying the flora and fauna in Save Valley Conservancy, a 600 square kilometers wildlife area in southeastern Zimbabwe, which was established in 1993. The Conservance was given permission to cull the elephant population by 100 before another conservation agents asked if they could take in the animals. The answer was an enthusiastic yes.
That is a highlight and success of conservation, the way it's written in any book there is. I feel utterly elated. It's a high emotional moment for me to see that 25 years of sweat and tears have come to this.
After the animals are identified, spiked and numbered, they are ferried over a 700-kilometer distance to Rifa Safari Conservance, which is in a national park on the border with Zambia. The conservance is run by the Hammersbach Rhino Force. As the name suggests, the organization protects rhinos, not elephants. So, what is the interest in relocating elephants?
Elephants are just the start. Here in the Zambezi Valley, the black rhinos are coming from this area. This is our big objective.
Zimbabwe Parks and Wildlife Management Authority removed the rhinos from this area after it realized that poachers operating on the porous border were decimating the endangered species population. It says since President Emmerson Mnangagwa came to power in 2017, Zimbabwe has upped its anti-poaching patrols. There has been no cyanide poisoning of elephants, which was a problem in previous years, it says.
Most of our borders, they are not really watertight, but we've managed to put a stop because we are also involving communities so that they appreciate the importance of having these elephants so that they can also protect them. Previously, communities will also be involved because they are not benefiting, but of late they've been benefiting from the resource. Roads are being built, infrastructure development, their children are getting employed through the resources that are there.
Now it remains to be seen if the elephants can attract tourists to Rifa Safari and survive the threat of poachers before rhinos are re-established next year. Columbus Mavunga for VOA News, Harare.
Well, in big news here in the United States, in a shocking move, U.S. Secretary of Defense James Mattis has decided to resign from his post and will leave the administration in February. Mattis says he's stepping down because his views are not aligned with President Donald Trump. Now, the news comes one day after Trump said that U.S. troops would leave Syria, a move the Pentagon opposed. While Trump says Mattis is retiring, Mattis released a letter at the Pentagon indicating he was stepping down. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders spoke about Mattis's planned departure Thursday night.
He served in this administration by the time he completes his term as Secretary of Defense for 2 years. He and the president have a good relationship, but sometimes they disagree. The president always listens to the members of his national security team, but at the end of the day, it's the president's decision to make.
Well, in addition to Syria, there were tensions between the two men over Russian President Vladimir Putin. Secretary Mattis believes the Russian president is trying to undermine NATO and assault Western democracies. But Trump has praised Putin's leadership skills and recently caused concern among U.S. allies by calling for Russia's reinstatement in the group of major industrial nations. Well, it's Friday, time to relax and take a look at what is trending. We begin in Brazil, where poverty rates are on the rise and a growing number of informal trash collectors are turning to a social media app. It's helping them make their rounds more efficient as they exchange recyclable materials for cash. The Kataki app allows trash collectors to register on their social media platform. People in the area can then use the app to flag a registered collector to come to their home or business to pick up trash or recyclables. Collectors can also negotiate a fee with app users for regular trash or larger items like furniture or appliances. Trash collectors are among the estimated 37 million Brazilians, or nearly 41% of the working population, employed in informal sectors of the economy. Well, to South Korea now, where an increasing number of young men are using makeup. It's an accepted trend in the usually conservative society as cosmetic brands bid to bring their men's products mainstream. In the 8 months leading to August, South Korea's biggest online shopping site, Gmarket, recorded a 130% jump from a year earlier, all from selling makeup to men. That includes mascara and lip tint. According to data from Euromonitor, Asia's male grooming market is still relatively small. It accounted for less than a fifth of the nearly $50 billion industry worldwide in 2017. And finally, anonymous graffiti artist Banksy has left his mark again, this time in the Welsh steel town of Port Talbot, with a new piece that seems to reference the industry. Banksy shared a video of the artwork on Instagram with the caption, "Season's Greetings." The piece is painted over 2 garage walls. One is a child, arms outstretched and sledge at his feet in the midst of a snowstorm. Turning the corner, the second wall reveals the snow to be ash billowing from an incinerator. Earlier this year, Port Talbot made headlines when the World Health Organization mistakenly listed it as the most polluted town in Britain. If you didn't know it, that is what is trending today. And that is also our show today. We leave you with the beats of Congolese artist Cappuccino. He sings in French. I don't know what he's saying, but the music's good. Have a great weekend. Goodbye.
Honorable Emma Marceau. Le PDG Rally Bicheka. Président Moussangania. Le boss Raoul Machoué. Simon da Fashion. Le boss Jacques Soranuka.